So, welcome everyone to Love and the Planets. Today, we're looking at the new moon in Sagittarius, which is, of course, the new moon for December. I am Margaret Gray in Dublin, Ireland.
And I'm Armand Diaz in Long Island, New York.
So, Armand, what do you think of this new moon? I mean, we were just saying before we go into that, but just to say, we've been saying how the energies have been the same for really a while, and they've been so Neptunian. We've been swimming in all these emotions with the Mars Neptune conjunction, and here comes a new moon that technically really should be the start of something new because it's fiery and dynamic. But how do you think it's going to affect our relationships?
Well, it's the Sagittarius new moon, big picture plans and so on. This new moon is square to a Neptune-Mars conjunction. It's happening on a day when Mercury's retrograde, which doesn't help the situation that much either. I kind of feel that, like, metaphorically or literally, this is like the time when you might be planning a trip. Like, wow, let's get away for a while. And then, Expedia crashes and, you miss out on the great offer or something like that. It just seems like it's hard to get traction at this time. I guess we can sort of set intentions. It's a new moon. It's not really a very active time anyway, but we can set intentions if we know what they are. And I think it might be hard to know what they are right now.
I agree with you. Now, you were saying Mercury's retrograde, but it's stationary direct, isn't it, at the moment? Or am I? Yeah. So it's kind of, I always think of it. It's like, when the car is changing gears and we're kind of not one way, not the other. And this Neptune is adding to the kind of confusion of it all. And also, I think that this Sagittarian energy, we know that Sagittarius expands everything. So it's really expanding this Neptunian energy, which on the one hand can be very romantic and very dreamy, and we've both talked about this in our blogs on our Facebook page, that there's a lot of potential for dreaming, but we also can get caught up in illusion and fantasy and something that isn't really available. It's just a dream, and also to get hooked on that unavailability. So we really have to be careful. And as you say, when Mercury isn't quite going in direct motion yet, then all the confusion that comes with it.
Oh, I think when Mercury stations, when it stopped as it is at this new moon, that's when you have the great. I wouldn't rule out at other times when Mercury's retrograde or even before or after, but right when it's stationed retrograde or direct, that's when you get the biggest and most dramatic shifts and most mercurial mishaps, as it were. So that's a problem. I totally agree, though, that the Neptunian energy here can be, it can be romantic. On the other hand, it could be dreamy. It could be a nightmare too. And with Venus, the planet of love and relationship, and Mercury in Scorpio, I'm wondering if there isn't a tendency to some of the more darker side of things.
Also to say, Armand, we were just talking that, with people we kind of know, acquaintances and friends and so on, there's been a lot of people that seem to be passing on at the moment. So there seems to be a general feeling of collective grief. And I certainly felt that, the last few days. And, a lot of clients have been mentioning that to us as well, that they're kind of, if anybody's in any way sensitive or an empath or, has any kind of sensitivity to energies, really there is a lot of collective grief. Part of it is also the holiday time where I think, we're all forced to be jollier than jolly. And, if there are any losses around, it can be quite a challenging time. And even if there aren't, there's such a pressure to spend money and to prove one's love through material things. And this Mars Neptune in Pisces really is kind of very, just very watery. I was going to say it's very insidious, but it's not insidious. It's the quality of water that just seeps in everywhere. So of course it's in the collective ether. So just for maybe really to be aware, is this really my own sadness? Has it to do with me and my relationships? Or is it maybe just that I'm picking up part of the collective sadness and grief?
Yeah, I think, the Sagittarius new moon would be a time when we would like to think in a positive big picture about relationships. You sort of want to see where you're going, where am I headed with things? And this is a time, this time around, I don't think it's the best possible time to be doing that kind of assessment, which is it's tough, you know. I mean, it is a difficult type of thing. I think coming into next week, we'll have much better energy for things. You know, by midweek, we have the moon in Aquarius. That'll be helpful. But I think right now, you know, a little bit of stuckness. You know, I think also too. Let's remember Chiron at the end of Pisces, and all that's going to drag us through for the next month or so. I mean, you know,
And at the moment, it's trying the Mercury. So, you know, I think there's also memories coming up, thoughts, you know, yearnings, all of that are really coming up. Not to forget also that Venus is finally moving ahead, but she is still opposing Uranus. So there's still a sense of unsettledness in relationships. And I think until she's a few degrees further over the next few days and weeks, there's still a feeling that we're not on solid ground, that something could suddenly erupt or happen, which adds to our anxiety level, adds to the fear level, adds to the distress level. It's really not that helpful.
No, it's not helpful at all. If Venus is direct, and that is a little helpful. She'll be in the shadow of her retrograde until December 17th, which means that we're still sort of like working through that stuff that started, you know, September, and, you know, it's going way back. So it's not the case that, you know, we're really free and clear. And she'll be in Scorpio until the end of the year. So, you know, we're not gonna see Venus in the upbeat Sagittarian joining the upbeat Sagittarian party until really everybody else is left besides Jupiter. So
that's a great way of putting it. So what could people do? Well, you know, dive into water, have a nice bath, really self-pampering, self-care, self-nurturing, things that are soothing, you know, get some essential oils, or, you know, a friend of mine mentioned Bach flower remedies, things that really kind of add comfort, and also that have an element of liquid in them, because I think when we're in these very water energies, we might as well go with the flow rather than try and counteract them. But also try and keep grounded if at all possible, because that mixture of fire, the Sagittarian new moon, and the water can be really a little destabilizing, depending what's in your chart. And just to say, if your chart is very earthy, these transits may feel particularly destabilizing because there's so much fire and water. Similarly, if you have, you know, but if you have a chart with fire and a lot of water, then they may feel a little more comfortable, even though they're still not ideal. So it all depends on the nature of your chart and on the nature of your composite chart. So take a look at those to see how this new moon affects you.
definitely, it's the overall weather will definitely hit everybody individually in a different way, and that's an important consideration. So, you know, not everyone is going to be in the midst of the same experience.
And our next recording, Armand, is going to be the transits for everybody, all the different signs in January. For January.
That's not true, Margaret. The next one will be on the full moon.
Oh my goodness, I totally forgot about the full moon. I just blocked it completely. You see, eliminated the full moon. Okay, you're
Mercury
absolutely
stationing to go direct. That's my point.
Yes, there it goes. You were totally right. So the next one is the full moon, and then after that we will have our transits for January. And I will see you for the full moon transits, Armand. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.